Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to this episode number 8 of the Photonpreneurs series. Funded by the European Commission, Photon Hub Europe seeks to boost the competitiveness and uptake of photonics industries and technologies across Europe. If you are a company innovating in photonics and would be interested in grant funding and technical support, business and investment readiness coaching support, or training or access to advanced research centers focused on the technologies. One of the key highlights of our program are the exclusive online investor days. These dedicated sessions provide our beneficiaries with a platform to pitch their ideas and connect directly with potential investors. It's an incredible opportunity to showcase your vision and secure the funding your business deserves. And don't forget, there is an open call for photonic companies, which cutoff date is going to be July 15. But Maria will come back to that at the end of today's webinar. So what's on the menu for today? As the name suggests, the Photonpreneurs series has been designed to share fundraising tips and best practices for those exploring, designing, and launching companies in link with the science and technology of light photonics. I'm delighted to kick off by welcoming Merhnaz Heidari, Strategic Partnership Manager at the Tyndall National Institute in Cork, Ireland. She's responsible for building and nurturing partnerships with companies, academic institutions, national and international agencies, which results in the capital-efficient development and deployment of new photonics-based products, in particular supporting SMEs and startups in their journey. So, Merhnaz, thank you again for sharing this moment with us this afternoon. I will probably start by asking you to introduce yourself and tell us a bit more about what you do today.
Thank you so much, Bernard. Hi, everyone. I'm very excited to be here, actually, and it's great to collaborate with Photon Hub and this Photonpreneurs project. So my name is Merhnaz. I'm working as the Strategic Partnership Manager at Irish Photonics Integration Centre at Tyndall National Institute in Ireland. Well, my background, I've got a PhD of Industrial Engineering, and I have been researching about startups and their collaboration with VCs and their growth. So most of my experience has been working with startups and their collaboration with venture capitalists. I have been working as the General Director to the National Venture Capital Association of my own home country. And after that, I have been working in an innovation consulting firm, which we tried to help larger companies to collaborate with startups to help them conduct those startup corporate collaborations. And after that, actually, I've been working with IPIC for 18 months so far. And my role is here, as you mentioned, Bernard, is to nurture new partnerships with industrial partners, with other research institutes within Ireland or outside Ireland. And beside that, I'm the coordinator of Ireland's national technology platform for photonics, which is called Photonics Ireland. The aim of Photonics Ireland is to create the community and ecosystem of all photonics companies in Ireland, of course. And beside that, I'm also working with a team who are delivering a specific entrepreneurship program dedicated for deep tech startups and researchers and help them to go through their journey to become startup co-founders. So this is mainly my background.
Thank you. So can you tell us a bit more about the Tyndall National Institute and maybe also about IPIC, so the Irish Photonic Integration Center?
Yeah, definitely. Well, Tyndall National Institute is one of Europeans' leading research institutes in ICT hardwares and systems. So there are researchers working in photonics and energy sector as well as ICT hardware and system sectors. So the aim of the Tyndall National Institute is mainly building and nurturing impact from the excellence. I mean, from the research and addressing those real questions of industry and real problems and addressing societal challenges that has been facing within the country, of course. And IPIC, or Irish Photonics Integration Center, is mainly located in Cork, but also it has other researchers in Dublin, in Galway, in Limerick, I mean, in top universities in Ireland. So it's a national, I would say, center, which has been funded by SFI, is Science Foundation Ireland. And it has more than 200 researchers in the photonics area in different groups of biophotonics, quantum computing, and other areas of photonics research.
Okay, thank you. So regarding the industry, the photonics industry, what kind of growth have you seen in this industry in Ireland and maybe in Europe, as you know, yeah, you know the entire industry as well. What have you seen over the last years as growth?
Well, when we are talking about photonics, it's quite a broad sector. It has many applications in different and diverse areas, like from the mobile phones we have had in our hands to medical devices to agri-tech. So it has a broad, let's say, application as the key enabling technology. But let's say for silicon photonics, I would say the optical communications has been the initial market that has been growing, and I would say will grow. Beside that, like digitalization and automation, all of them are kind of applications that will foster photonics sector to be growing more and more. Besides that, I would like to mention medtech sector in Ireland, which is a very interesting and leading sector. And we have seen several companies are searching for new applications from photonics, biosensors, etc., that could enable them to provide new solutions, new medical devices. So in Ireland, medical devices are also a very good, interesting market for photonics as well.
And in terms of trends for the coming months or years, what's your perception? And I think you just come back. You're just back from Automatica. You were in Munich 2 weeks ago. Yeah. What do you think are the major trends which we could see in this particular industry?
Well, we have all heard about EU Chips Act and US Chips Act. So I would say a lot of countries have their own strategy and plan to create more infrastructure, more facilities, to put more money in the sector, both for photonics and microelectronics. So we still are waiting for more clarifications to see those strategies and to see what exactly this acts actually mean in different countries. But I would say this will change the whole market. This will foster the whole market, and this will just enable a lot of companies to be emerged or benefit from these, let's say, initiatives that governments in different countries will put. But beside that, I would say artificial intelligence, which has been like a very important topic in every conference or in every section of the laser world of photonics or Automatica I have joined. So I would say artificial intelligence will definitely need photonics as key enabling technology, because it will help those communications and data transfers and etc. So I would say these are the most trends that I have seen actually.
Before we deal with partnerships, I would like maybe to spend a few minutes on the founders, the people who run these companies. When it comes to startup founders in the photonics industry in Ireland, what's their background?
Well, as I said, like photonics applications are really diverse. So there are different photonics startups active in Ireland, but most of the co-founders' backgrounds are electronics and physics. But we have seen like other co-founders from medicine or chemistry or even biology that are working in those photonics startups as well. And we have this idea of business champions, which means those people who are not necessarily technicians or technologists in the photonics area, but they would like to join a startup company in the sales force, I mean, and to help them to sell their products and solutions better for business development. So they are mostly business developers that are joining as the teams of co-founders of those photonics startups as well. And we have this like happened a lot in Ireland because like those co-founders who are mostly technicians, who are mostly just aware of technical parts of it, might not be able to conduct and do the business development aspects of the company as well. So they need some people in the co-founders team, I mean, to help them through that issues as well.
Okay. And so for these people who create startups in the photonics industry, in Ireland, if they are looking for help, where can they look?
When a startup is actually growing, their needs change. So I will break down your question into different aspects of helps that those startup co-founders might need later on. I would say regarding the technology development part of it, if they could just collaborate with research institutes like IPIC, like ourselves in Ireland, and they could be connected with different partners that we already have. Because it's when they are talking about photonics startups, they're totally different with, let's say, normal ICT startups. They're capital intensive, they're time consuming to reach to an MVP. And well, it's very important to have those mentorships around them when they are developing their technology, even, I mean, in the very first stage of research and conducting to starting to commercialize their research. They will need those specific mentorships. And it's kind of hard to be connected to those industrial people because they don't know those startup co-founders, you know. And if they could come over and seek for help from research centers like us, we could be able to connect them to those industrial partners as well, which is a great help, I would say. When they're trying to commercialize their product, well, definitely I would recommend every researcher in Ireland to go ahead and talk with TTO, technology transfer officers in each universities or research centers, because they have a very good experience and knowledge of different business models, different ways they could continue and commercialize their actually research results. And for commercialization stage, as I said, we have our own specific program to help researchers to become entrepreneurs. So this is built for researchers in whole island of Ireland, and they can apply for it. It's mainly workshops and mentorship sessions they could seek for. But besides all of these activities and programs, for funding, I would say Enterprise Ireland is one of the most important funding bodies who could help them and support them with different kind of funding potential activities they do. I would say like their feasibility grant funding available for startups, or even team of co-founders who haven't just registered their company to become a real startup yet. But they can apply for those feasibility grants from Enterprise Ireland, which will help them to do market analysis better, to do customer discovery, and understand whether they are just doing the right thing yet or not. Besides that, there is also commercialization fund available, again from Enterprise Ireland for startups and researchers in Ireland. So they can hire some people with that money, let's say for 18 months, up to 2 years. They could be able to travel to different conferences and exhibitions and make new partnerships. They could be able to develop their technology with that money. So Enterprise Ireland is actually one of the main funding bodies for high potential startups in Ireland. And SFI, Science Foundation Ireland, is also another partner or another body who just do that through research centers like us. So it's mainly not in direct connection with startups or researchers, but they can go through different initiatives through research centers of SFI.
Okay. So maybe can you tell us about an example of successful partnership between a startup in the photonic industry and an academic institution?
Well, academic institutions like ourselves, like IPAC and Tyndall, could be a very good help in technology development part. They could provide facilities, infrastructure, I would say talent, team building, even funding opportunities could be tailored through these research institutes. So if I want to give you an example, there is a startup in Galway in West Ireland, which is working in the ENT sector and procedures. They're actually came out of an EU project, I would say. So they have been working from a university in Galway and have been working with another company in Belgium, but also in Tyndall National Institute. Through our capabilities, we help them to have their own specific photonics packaging for their product. So I would say it was a real success, and they could be able to conduct that through using those capabilities in Tyndall, even if they are not in Cork. But they could be able to use that and deliver this with their own other partner in Belgium as well. So, yeah.
So when it comes to the national agency, so you mentioned already the role it can play, but you have in mind another example of cooperation between a startup in the photonic industry and the national Irish agency?
Well, I would say we have some research teams that become spin-outs and could be able to raise funds through those national agencies and make a very good reputation for themselves and become able to raise 3 more million euro funds from venture capital funds as well later on in their journey. So being able to using those, let's say, national agency funds, which I mentioned, like Enterprise Ireland's different funds available, really help those startups to succeed in their journey to become like scale-up companies, which are now actually working and have their international customers worldwide. So I would say being connected to those national agencies help them through that journey.
And what about international agencies? Have you seen cases where international agencies play a role or can be helpful in the development of startup in this industry?
Well, Photonics 21 is a good example of that. Of course, like different EU level activities has been done and help startups and SMEs to grow. And I would say the most important role that those international agencies have is actually to create the network and create the ecosystem, which will make those startups be able to connect to different partners. Like, as I said, like as a co-founder of a startup, it's hard to be in those large companies club, but through these, international projects and initiatives, and being part of that ecosystem, it will help those startups to be able to be known with those companies and be able to just create those partnerships with them.
And the partnerships you've seen, do they usually involve only two organizations, or does it happen that it involves 3 or 4 or more organizations?
Well, as I said, I have been working on some EU projects as a part of my role. So I have seen partnerships that have several partners. So I would say, like, beside the consortium itself, I mean, regarding those specific projects that came out of it, we have had different partnerships, research institutes, as well as the large, huge company, as well as a small startup who wanted to do the manufacturing part of it with that large company. Besides that, wanted to develop the technological part of it, because that startup lacked that specific technical part, which wasn't there yet, but they knew a lot of like surroundings of that technology. So they wanted the research institute beside them, as well as the company, to help them to manufacture. So indeed, it can happen with several partners.
Or do you imply also that partners change? It's normal that partners change over time for a given startup?
Yes, I would say so, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So what are the most important things you think a startup founder should know about strategic partnership? What should he or she have in mind?
Yeah, so strategic partnership is a partnership. So it's a business partnership. So 2 or more parties that are involved want their value out of it. I mean, it should be a win-win situation. It should be, it's a non-competing business collaboration. But beside that, each of those parties want to see the benefit of that partnership for their own. So it's very important to have the strategy. It's very important to have the plan for it. It's very important to understand your capabilities and your partner's capabilities, and to understand how they will match to each other, how they will resonate to each other. You have to find those sweet spots for your partnerships, and to understand each other's core problem that you are going to address. So it's kind of the most important part of it, to have that plan, to have that strategy in your mind. And to be honest, like, sometimes startups are very keen about their solution, are they very keen about their technology, that they just don't listen, you know, they just don't see, they just cannot think out of the box. Like, entrepreneurs should be able to think out of the box, but when they are like having their own solution, when they're reaching to those, you know, steps in their journey, they're kind of biased. And it's hard to be able to work with other companies' needs and cultures and way of working. So it's very important to be flexible as well.
What would you say are the challenges of partnerships?
As I said, regarding when you're working with another company, you are working with a totally different culture. You're totally working with a new way of working. Some of them might be very bureaucratic. So you should start sooner to be able to conduct that. As a startup co-founder, I would say your time, your energy, your capabilities are limited. So you have to be able to prioritize which company are you going to talk with, and how long are you going to stay on the line to be able to reach to an answer in between yourself and your potential partner. So it's very important to have that plan, as I said. And when talking about challenges, as I said, some companies and organizations are bureaucratic. So you have to be able to kind of prioritize and find your way through that. Like, sometimes an email introduction could save you months of trying. So it's also very important to become part of that ecosystem, as I mentioned already. So yeah, these are mostly the challenges I would like to mention.
And what are the most important rewards startup can expect from a partnership?
Well, definitely, it's embedded in the definition of a strategic partnerships. It's resonating your capabilities. You are opening some new doors that you haven't been opened yet. You're meeting people you haven't met before. And you are thinking about new ways of doing that business that is not in your capabilities. So it's definitely resonating your capabilities with your partner's capabilities. So it's very important to keep that in mind, that you have to be clear, you have to have that plan and strategy in your mind in advance before reaching out to different partners, so that you could benefit the most of it.
And what are the most successful partnerships you've seen in this industry, whether in Ireland or abroad?
Well, to answer this question, I can mention, let's say, like multi-million euro successful companies. But what I would like to mention is a successful US company who started their new business line in Ireland in Tyndall National Institute, because they kind of spin in Tyndall National Institute because they wanted to benefit from those facilities and talents we already have at Tyndall. And it helped them to also be connected with different partners that turn out to become their potential customers later on. I mean, like being part of that ecosystem, being part of that capability, actually helped that company to become really successful in Ireland, because they just started to do that partnership with a research center, which was successful and well connected in Ireland. So I would say that was one of the most successful cases I have ever seen. I can do some more examples, but I would say this is very significant, because starting from scratch and becoming one of the leading companies in their own sector, it's a real success.
Wow. And what are the trends you are seeing in the photonic industries that, in your opinion, could create further opportunities for strategic partnerships?
As I said, like those CHIPS Act will definitely change the whole market. And it will create, I would say, more regional partnerships than before, like because companies have faced those specific supply chain problems. They will definitely need new partnerships, maybe in Europe or in their own region. So we are going to see those kind of partnerships that haven't been there before. And it should be, I would say, the trend that we will see in few upcoming months even.
And what should founders do to position themselves to take advantage of these trends?
I would say keep an eye on your, I would say every country has their own technology platform for photonics, like the one we have in Ireland, Photonics Ireland, or different countries have. So keep an eye on them. They should definitely have some news. They should definitely release some strategies that government, their country's government will have. So they have to keep an eye on that. And beside that, they have to be able to communicate. They have to be able to create their own network, to understand who is who, and to understand who is the leader in their sector, and what are the, let me say, problems they are going to face. They have to be aware of every step they are going to take. So it's very important to just become aware of what's going around them by attending conferences, by attending those mentorship sessions, by attending those training programs, whatever is there. Just grab that and become one of the parts of the ecosystem. It will help them to be a player later on in that ecosystem, and it will help them to benefit most from, let's say, that EU Chips Act in their own country.
Based on your knowledge of the industry and your perception, what do you think are the, I would say, the specialties of the strength of the various European countries when it comes to photonics? Do you see, well, some countries emerge on a given segment of this industry?
Yes, I would say that's totally true. Each country has strengths in a specific area, like some of them in specific sector. I mean, the application of the photonics in a specific sector is more significant in some countries. Some of them are like they have had a lot of money put in that specific area, so they have been growing those facilities or infrastructures beforehand. But I would say it's totally different story in each country. And some of the countries have their own smaller clusters within them, which are also very strong. But what we have seen, I would say, talking with different national technology platforms, is it's really diverse. So like those startup co-founders should do their homework and do their research to understand, like, let's say, which country is going to be the best fit for them, for their needs, and reach out to those technology platforms to find out what are their, let's say, potential partners that they could reach out later on.
And again, on the, let's say, geographical view of the industry, how would you rate the US versus Europe versus Asia when it comes to the photonics industry?
Well, I would say US is the leader, but in Europe there are countries that have been very active and have done a lot of activities and created a lot of opportunities within their countries and also other countries in Europe as well. So I would say each of these continents have their own, characters, of course, but for Asia, they have been emerging in those areas. I would say, like, they are putting a lot of money in those areas as well. Like the whole sector, the whole market is changing, so it's very dynamic market, in my opinion.
And have you seen China play an active role in this industry so far? What's your perception of the strength of China in the photonics industry?
Well, they have been a part of important part of the supply chain, I would say. But European countries and US are trying to change that phenomenon, I would say, with this specific Chips Act, because they want not to rely on just Asian countries to provide those, let's say, components for their photonics applications, etc. That's the reason they are going to have their own, facilities. They have their own, let's say, investments in different areas to be able to secure that supply chain for themselves.
And maybe two last questions. So, what are the resources available to startup founders in Europe who are looking to build strategic partnership? Where should they look first?
Photonics 21. But I would say EU projects are very good. They're diverse. They can answer different needs of different startups in their different growth stage. You know what I mean? Like if you are just looking for some specific mentorships, there are definitely some programs for you. If you're looking for some money, definitely there are some programs for you. If you're just looking for some partnerships with larger industrial partners, there are EU projects for you that you could be able to join and benefit from part of it. So I would say just keep an eye on those. Horizon Europe's initiatives that has been conducted and search well through them.
And do you see many examples of partnerships between entities of various European countries, or I assume most of the partnerships you see happen within a given country, so within Ireland, for instance, but do you see examples of cooperations across borders?
Yeah, actually, as I mentioned, I have been working with that with 2 EU projects so far, which was mostly in 18 countries in Europe. So it's a very good and diverse consortium. And through that, we have seen partnerships that had happened, let's say, in different countries altogether. Like I have seen a unique project with 5 different countries involved in, which is, I would say, a very good example of what had happened and a successful case. Because it's very hard when you are just working with another country, different, let's say, ways of working, as I mentioned already. So it's very hard, but it ended up as a success. So even after that, the terminal date of that project, they decided to continue the whole project, to work on that later, and have that consortium as an NPA later on.
And so maybe one last question. So in your view, what's the future of strategic partnerships in the photonics industry?
Well, as I mentioned, like what we will see is more regional partnerships. Like I would say, partnerships within EU, not just inside one country, but within EU, because all of the countries are trying to have different strategies, but they're going to be kind of alongside with each other. They could complete with each other rather than compete with each other. So I would say the trend, which I'm assuming will happen, is more in different stages of supply chain of the photonics, from the components through systems and through photonics-enabled systems and solutions. I would say we will see different partnerships, but within the region.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Merhnaz.
Thank you so much
for your input on this fascinating topic. So I will probably we are reaching the end of this webinar. So I will probably let Maria talk, because I think she wanted to talk a bit about the open call for photonic startups.
Yes, thank you very much, Bernard, and thank you, Merhnaz, for this interesting conversation. Yes, so I wanted to encourage everyone who is interested in developing their company, their startup through private funding, to apply to our expression of interest open call for the investment readiness coaching and investor matchmaking program under Photon Hub. So, well, my words of encouragement would be: there is nothing to lose. There's a lot to gain because the program is absolutely free. You can get up to 4 sessions with mentors who are actual investors. So if you are seriously thinking about boosting your finance with private investment, I think this is the program for you. And yes, last week we've been with Photon Hub startups at Automatica, where the startups pitched their projects. Merhnaz is you are nodding your head. You've been there, right?
I witnessed that. It was a great, I would say, startup pitch session, and all those startups that has been selected has been gone through that mentorship program before and help them through how they should prepare their materials all together. As I said, they're mostly technologists, so seeing them talking about different business aspects of their job, it's very interesting. And well done to the funding box.
Okay, thank you very much. Yes, so in the program, we basically focus on that investment readiness topic. So we encourage you to apply and go with us through the program, and then get access to connections with investors. We'll share the links to the expression of interest website in the description of this video, as well as the link to join Photon Hub community. Merhnaz, you were talking about keeping an eye on what's going on where, joining the ecosystem, be part of the ecosystem. So we also recommend that you join the community. So thank you very much. I guess that's all from me.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much,
Bernard.
Maria.